Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got a very narrow win for Galladinium's fantastic technology for the Star Wars role-playing game. And you don't know how many times I've had to re-record this because I keep stumbling over that word. Now as usual, I'll have a look at that on the desktop in a wee second. And I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel-related stuff and some other poll-related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who this week I have been advised will almost certainly not be involved in the destruction of the human race, which is very reassuring to know. Now if you'd like to join them to help the channel out, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like access to one of the other levels of patronage where we offer you different things, then there's a link in the description down below. If you click on that and check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But let's have a look at Galladinium's fantastic technology. So, this is Galladinium's fantastic technology. It's from the Star Wars role-playing game. It came out from West End Games in 1995. Now this one differs from the other fantastic technology book I covered, the Gundarks one. Firstly because that book just covered weapons and armour, whereas this one, guns and gear for any occasion. This is much more a generic book. But also because the Gundarks book was a compilation of items from other source books, all but in one place, very handy book to have, but it was all stuff that we'd seen elsewhere. Now, while there are some items in this book I'm sure I recognised from other source books, most of this was contributions from players of the game, because West End Games held through the RPGA, the Role Playing Games Association, the Fantastic Technology competition, where people would send stuff in, and they used those in this book. Now, this leaves it to be a lot more strange. There's lots of different ideas in here, lots of them very practical, lots of them just strange ideas for the Star Wars universe, and it really quite works for me. Because the Star Wars universe is supposed to be so expansive that you would get all these weird things from different cultures and different species. And that's what this book does particularly well. It does have a huge amount of oddities in it. But anyway, let's have a look at the back cover. A catalogue of equipment for adventures. From an Abyssin grafting patch to the Verpine shatter gun, this catalogue contains essential adventuring gear for rough-and-tumble encounters, with sections detailing weapons, microelectronics, survival gear, droids, and medical supplies. Galladinium's catalogue of wares will prove to be indispensable to any group of characters. And that's what it's being. It's being a technology catalogue by Galladinium, selling stuff. So we've got an introduction. It talks about the Fantastic Technology Contest. I'd like to thank the RPGA and Gene Rabe for allowing us to have this contest. On all, we received about 75 entries, and nearly half of them were included in this book. Timeline, special offerings, non-catalogue, technology policy, avoiding technology overkill, new devices, jury rigging stuff, so it's including the rules from Kraken's Rebel Field Guide, where you can improve items, improving existing abilities, equipment failure chances, cybernetics and prosthetics, temptation of evil for having cybernetics, and then we're on to the Galladinium's Galactic Data Log of Fantastic Technology. Word from the President introduction. Welcome to the 50th anniversary edition of the Data Log of Fantastic Technology. For 50 standard years, the executives and employees of Galladinium Galactic Exports have dedicated themselves to bringing you the very finest in Imperial technology. Well, the Empire didn't exist for that long, but let's forget about that. All orders of 300,000 credits or more are shipped without charge. Lots of in-universe stuff here. Coupons, saving on your next droid purchase, etc. And then we're on to conveyances, different vehicles. We start off with jetpacks, the Arakid Hushabout jetpack. A vehicle voice lock, so a way of locking up your vehicle. Security system, so it's not just vehicles themselves. A hover shopper, a small repulsive shopping basket, basically, with a seat. The Hyperfoil 1000, live organism comfort conveyor. Methane sifters, microweight, so a more repulsive vehicle than just a jetpack. And we've got images of all these vehicles. The Tagco SES-19 Sentinel, a suborbital luxury shuttle. So a small way of getting around a planet. It has a limited space speed. It's not a starfighter or anything. You're not going to be going into battle in this, but it's a handy way of getting around. And one of the things I really like, the autopilot droid brain. So like a remote control system where you can have an autopilot. I'm sure you could use it as a co-pilot if you wanted to have a single pilot on a ship, which requires a crew of more. Then we're on to droids. So we've got the attendant droid, guardian droids, litigation droids, personal chef droids, along with illustrations. The litigation droid doesn't look happy to be there at all. Personal secretary droid. Got a transport droid. Tutors, maintenance, law enforcement droids. Customization kits. Droid diagnostics, command links. Astromech voice boxes, so you can get your R2 unit to actually speak basic. We've got home and office items, so BioLight panels, hiding cubes, corporate watcher computer, pocket secretary, cryptographic coders. Just so many handy things you can put in. Refresher booth, so basically a shower. Repulsor lounge floater, gravity mill. Training on this can eliminate any penalties due to higher or lower gravity worlds. No, it's not giving you massive abilities, but it's a handy little thing you can drop into the universe. Universal computer interface, hollow communicators, Instamis generators. Then we've got jewelry from cybernetic nexus rings, dissuasion field belts, hollow chronometers. Just things that a person might have. A veridicator. Detects possible falsehoods with a perception check. We've got medicine here, so anti-shock blankets, medical diagnostic scanners, protein replicators, rectar splints, gravitic pressure bandages. We're on to personal gift ideas, a body glove, a bubble cloak, chemical boosters, orbital transmission monitors, servo slippers. Next page. Signature synthesizers, sound bubbles. So a privacy bubble, I'm guessing that is, preventing any aural vibrations from being sensed by live or automated detectors. Transliterators. And we've got recreations things here, including gladiator walkers. A mental combat game. That looks like a very crude Victor TIE fighter there. Gravity ball sport lifter. Hologram generic set. So the holographic chess. Sky slicer, like a surfboard for the sky. Bio cocoons, these are special tools here. EVA vacuum pod for going outside your ship and repairing things. Mineral extractors, a small ship to go out mining with. Got servo lifters. What else we got here? A squib battering ram. Verpine asteroid directors. Surveillance and such. So a Bith computer retinal lock. Surveillance detectors. Eye in the sky, so a drone type device. Husher mics. Jump boots. View maskers, voice scramblers. We've got travel aids, so a baggage cart. Inflation shelter, so a tent you can set up, a high-tech Star Wars tent. Food analyzers. Currency converters. Heat induction staff. Water purifier, so everything you might need if you're going to a sort of savage world, going away from sort of main technology. And then we're on to weapons and self-defense. Jengarden double-bladed vibroblade. Molecular stiletto. It looks like a datapad stylus. Togorian scimitar. Intimidator blaster pistol, which only does 3 dice damage, so I'm not sure who would be intimidated by that. Bipolar blaster carbine, so a double-barreled blaster. Flechette smart guns, hunting rifles, adjudicator, blaster busters. What we got here? A hand baton, coral scepter for initiative, disruptor, sleep inducers, bioguards, repulsors, vac blades. An overview of blaster repair procedures. I'm sure I've seen this elsewhere, but a breakdown of the blaster and the different parts that can be modified and can break down. So we've got the repair kit here. A target board. While this device offers no immediate benefit, game masters may choose to allow characters who take target practice regularly to advance their blaster skill at a reduced skill point. Design Scott Eddy, honourable mention. A target imager, +1d +1/2 to blaster rolls when using it. Got power armor here, combat armor, assault armor, and then some tables of the damage and details of lots and lots of different weapons. And then at the back here we've got some special offerings. So an Abyssin grafting patch, Barabel microbe armor, the implant communicator, which makes a lot of sense because you can get the cyborg implant, the thing that Lobot had, which allows you to use a comlink. So the idea that you don't need to have all that modification, you get a much smaller thing which is just a comlink, allows you to think to talk to people. Aquatic computers, throwing razors, squib tensor rifles, the Sunjammer, a racing and recreational vessel. Is it particularly fast? No, it's very slow. Trathibar Mountain Ripper, a bird you can buy. The Verpine shatter gun, which is quite powerful. It's a firearm rather than a blaster, but it does 60 damage. And then we've got non-catalog offerings. So we've got things like hyperdrive boosters, nav computer bypass systems, a security breach droid, which looks like an ordinary astromech, an R-series astromech, but actually it's a sort of slicer droid. It's got computer programming repair at 5D and 7D, and security at 5D. I'm surprised it has no ordinary repair skills, even at a lower level, to allow it to masquerade. It'd be pretty obvious if you order it to go and fix something and it has no idea. It's using a 1-dice technical skill. Guardian droid system, flesh camouflage. And that's it. There's some wonderful ideas in there. There's tons and tons of stuff to allow you to grab this stuff and make your character slightly different from just a bloke in a blast vest with a heavy blaster pistol. You can have special weapons, you can have all this equipment, you can be your pilot who has his co-pilot who happens to be an autopilot system. You can really flesh out your characters and flesh out the world a lot with this book. It really, really was high quality. I much prefer this to the Gundark's book. The Gundark's book suffered a lot from power creep, where you were getting 7 or 8 dice blaster pistols, ridiculously powerful. This really doesn't do that at all. It just gives you lots and lots of options. It's a very cool book. So that was Galladinium's fantastic technology for Star Wars, and that won the poll this week with some 27% of the vote, which was only narrowly ahead of the second place, Marienburg Sold Down the River for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which came on 23%. The third place was Hill Sector Blues for Paranoia, which came on 20%. The Last Crusaders for Deadlands Hell and Earth came in on 19%, and then in last place was the Stargazer's Tribe book for Werewolf the Apocalypse on only 12%. I'd have loved to have covered all of those, but Star Wars is one of my favourite role-playing games, so I absolutely adored having a look at that. Now, as usual, they're all wiped out of the poll, and we're going back to a Retro Adventures poll. And this week, first up, we've got Secrets for Call of Cthulhu. Now, this is a series of, I think it's 5 one-night adventures, so a lot shorter than the usual Cthulhu adventures. So it'll be fascinating to see how they handle that, where you're not spending so long on the storyline as you would normally in massive Call of Cthulhu adventures, which do tend to go on for quite a while. Lots of investigation in them. How do they handle a quick-fire story? Let's see. In second, we've got Dark Angel for Shadowrun. Now, this is a 2nd edition adventure. It came out fairly in the middle of that edition, so it's not one of the early adventures I've been covering. but it's still in that classic era where Shadowrun adventures were twisty-turny things with lots and lots going on. Then we've got Quest for the Unknown for Hackmaster. Now this is obviously a remixed version, a comedy version of the classic Dungeons & Dragons adventure. So it'll be interesting to have a look at that, how they introduced comedy into an absolute classic adventure. Then we've got Tales for the Ether for Space 1889. Now these are adventures set on different places within the Space 1889 universe. So there's one on Earth, one on the Moon, one on a space station, one on Mars, one on Venus, and one on Mercury, I believe, are the different places. So there's a lot of exploration of that world without focusing on exactly one place. And finally, we've got Your Own Private Idaho for the Price of Freedom role-playing game. Now this would be a PDF review, because I only own the physical copy of the main rules. It's a big red box somewhere behind me. And I absolutely love this role-playing game. It was so tongue-in-cheek, it was so humorous, while being over-the-top action. It's the 80s role-playing game, where you get to gun down lots of bad guys and have a whole load of fun in it. And it's really been kind of forgotten about, so I'd love to cover this. We shall see how it goes. On other subjects, over on DrivethruRPG, I've been meeting up some character classes. Now, some of these are serious ones, things like Soul Forged, people who have swords with people's souls embedded in them, and the sword levels with them, so many of their abilities are based around their weapon. But also some very tongue-in-cheek ones. I've put in the Gastronomancer, somebody who does magic through their food and cooking, which I thought was kind of fun, definitely probably suited towards halfling characters, for example. But if you'd like to check those out, they're over on DrivethruRPG, there'll be a link down below. But also, lairds and librarians of my Patreon get access to these through a shared Google Drive, and they'll be up there already. Over on RPG Gamer, well, I kind of finished off the Ahsoka series, and I've been taking a little break, as I do tend to do between large projects, and I'll be going back onto the Young Jedi Adventures, because there's still some episodes of that to finish off. What I do after that, I don't know, because I don't think there's much due out for the rest of this year for Star Wars, so I might be going back to some comics and other things. I know I've got a few issues of the Darth Vader comics sitting around for me to cover, so it'd be nice to catch up on those. Now, I haven't talked about the Discord for a while, which has been sitting very, very quiet. Now, I can only apologise for this. Discord is something I only check once in a while, and especially while it's been this quiet, I probably haven't been checking it more than a couple of times a week. But if you do go on there and you have any questions, I will get back to you. We can set up a dialogue and chat. It's just that while it's so quiet, I'm not really paying it much attention. And that's my fault. I've kind of let it get quiet. But anyway, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.